Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Two Knicks Chicks. I'm your girl, Lady, and the Chef. Good morning. I hope everybody had a beautiful Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining me this morning. Excited to be back talking all things New York Knicks as always. Shout out to Diva Lock. She can't join us today, but nonetheless, we are here and we have a lot to go over regarding the Knicks. The Knicks do play later tonight at 6 against New Orleans. This is a game I'm expecting the Knicks to win. New Orleans have only won, what, 4 games? And they've been struggling as of late. So I'm looking for the Knicks to capitalize on that tonight. But by the thumbnail and the title of this video, you'll see that I had Mikal Bridges on the front thumbnail, pretty much talking about, we're going to talk about how he's adjusting on the other side of the bridge. This is not a show to slander Mikal Bridges, um, to be harsh with the choice of words to be used. We're not going down that road here. I think this is more of a dissecting as to what Mikal Bridges is capable of doing, what we've seen that he can do as a player in his NBA career. And so far, what are the struggles that's been going on with him being a New York Knick, right? And he's still adjusting to his new surroundings in New York after being traded from Brooklyn this offseason. The Knicks gave up, what, 5 draft picks to get Mikal Bridges? And I know a lot of Knicks fans didn't like that. There was a lot of pushback. A lot of fans was like, that's too many for Mikal. They felt like maybe the Knicks front office should have went after another player um, who I would say was probably a little bit better than Mikal if you were going to give up that many draft picks. I talked about this on Friday when I spoke about how the Knicks tend to get cornered when they're going to do any trades, right? So a lot of times teams are not happy with just taking that one particular player. They want either a bunch of draft picks or they want more than one player to be able to make some type of trade happen. And somehow the Knicks kind of get cornered into that. I don't know if this happens a lot with other teams, but I know being a Knicks fan and I watch this happens a lot with the Knicks. Whatever, neither here or there. The Knicks, the deal has been done. What's been done is done. Mikal is a Knicks, is a New York Knickerbocker. But Bridges has struggled to maintain the same level of play that he did just last year with the Nets. While his scoring averages were expected to dip, considering he was no longer a number one player option as he was in Brooklyn, his efficiency has taken a major hit on the 3-point line to the point where he hasn't been playable in games. Thibodeau has benched him late in games just because he hasn't been knocking down the three. His mid range has been there, but the three has been a struggle this season. And also his defense has been a struggle this season. You know, I see him fighting over screens. I see there's some pushback from Knicks fans on that. Some feel that Mikal Bridges doesn't fight over the screens very well, and they feel like, you know, what the hell is he doing exactly? But I feel like Mikal, part of the reason why he's struggling is because he's in his own way. He's in his head mentally. I think there's pressure on him that he has on himself to prove that going from Brooklyn to New York, where I'm sure he was excited to come to and play with his brothers, Jalen and Josh Hart, he felt like, yeah, I want to go over to the Knicks. But I think that there's this pressure on him. And I think that the pressure is different when you play for the Knicks versus when you play for Brooklyn. New York Knicks fans, we are a different breed. We're very passionate. We call it like it is. There's no holds bar. This is what it is. We're expecting you to come in, do your job. If not, you're going to hear it. And recently, Josh Hart did a post-game interview, and he pretty much was saying that he feels like the media is ripping into Mikal. He said they're killing him. The media is gonna rip into a player no matter what professional New York Knicks team New York sports team you play for. The media is gonna do that, especially if you haven't won a championship in over 50 years. I'm not condoning it. It's just part of playing in New York. That's what the media does. Mikal shot over 37% from the 3-point line last year. And now he's barely making over 30% from threes from downtown. So I'm not sure, and I said this on the last live, aside from him getting in his own way, he's in his head, he's not allowing the game to come to him. He needs to drop the pressure off of himself and just play the game. Because it's one thing to have a night or two where you're off. And we've seen games so far where he's able to give the Knicks 20 points or more in a game. But, you know, I think it's been a little bit more consistent where he hasn't been where I believe the front office and the fan base has expected Mikal to be. But I just think that he hasn't found his footing yet here. I think that it's only been, we haven't been at the midway point of the season yet for us to make a hard, concrete, solidified answer of Mikal doesn't belong here. Like, let's give him a whole season. Let's not judge so quickly. Let's not panic and hit the panic button so quickly. He needs time to adjust. Unfortunately, it takes some players time. If I recall last year, I had these strong feelings towards what's his name? Someone brought him up in a chat. This is where I need Diva Locks here. But his name is going to come to me because I remember I was like this on a player last year. And someone in the chat said, oh, the player needs like 20 games. And I was like, but he's been in the league long enough. I don't think that you need 20 games necessarily to figure out your footing. I guess for some players, they do need 20 games or more. So maybe they need about 50. And I'm not trying to exaggerate. For some players, they probably need around that 30 to 50 game mark to really find their rhythm and their footing. And then they start to be they find their rhythm. And I guess to some degree, it's at the right point in time of the season because it's like we're trying to close off the regular season on a strong foot. And then we're trying to start the playoffs on the right foot as well. And this is where we're going to need you to play really well. So I don't know. I just think that Mikal hasn't found his rhythm and his footing yet here on this Knicks team. And, I think that he should be able to get there. I'm not going to harp on him yet. I'm not going to push Mikal Bridges slander out there because I don't think that's fair to him. When we know what he can do, we know the potential, at least I can see it. I just don't think that he's hit that mark just yet. In his last game against Charlotte, he was benched in favor of Deuce. He commented on being benched and the decision to be benched after the game. He said, in quote, Thibodeau made the right decision. I got to play better. I've been inconsistent. I've had some games where I played good and some I haven't. Just got to find a rhythm within the team. That's pretty much it. Not even 20 games in, still trying to figure it out. There you have it. I'm not saying that's it. What can we do, Knicks fans? What can we do? There's nothing we can do but sit and watch and wait for him to figure it out. If the Knicks brought in someone else and didn't do a trade and give up 5 draft picks and brought in Mikal, do you guys think that the other player would have performed to the level of where you would have expected them to perform? And even if they did perform, that other player would have performed to the level where we expected them to perform and they were performing well. Or let's say if Mikal was doing well so far this season, would that change the narrative of where the Knicks are right now? Because that's something that I really was thinking about before I started this live today. Would that change the narrative of where this Knicks team is now? Does that change the record of where they are now at what, 11-8 the Knicks are? Let me just double check that. Yeah, the Knicks are 11-8. So would that change the narrative of where this Knicks team is? I don't know. Because at the end of the day, if you look at, even if Mikal was doing well and holding up his end of the bargain offensively and defensively, that doesn't mean that this Knicks team wouldn't still have their woes, because there's another issue there. It's not just Mikal. There's a team issue defensively that's also brewing that needs to get fixed. He also said, Mikal Bridges also said, in quote, "Go out there and win the game. That's the biggest thing. Just win the game. But yeah, obviously, I got to play better. With the opportunities I get, I got to convert. I had a lot of sloppy turnovers, a couple of times where the opponent scored on me getting into the middle. I'll be better." So I think all we can do right now is just wait for Mikal to figure it out. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. Like, are you expecting him to, I don't know, change overnight? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I think it's not going to happen because he needs to figure out how to be consistent. Like this entire team needs to figure out how to be consistent. It's not going to happen overnight. So we have to just be patient. We have to be patient. I just remember the player that I was talking about that I was harsh on last year. It was Alex Burke. Remember when he came here and he was stinking up the joint? And a lot of Knicks fans, I remember they were in the chat. Not a lot. There was a few people saying like, "Oh, you got to give him at least 20 games to get in a rhythm." And 20 games came and surpassed. And he actually surprised us in the playoffs and played really well. Now, I do think as a fan, I want to see consistency in the regular season as well as the playoffs. But I'm wondering if Mikal can find his footing at some point in the regular season, which I believe he will, and be consistent and play in his role, knowing that you're not the first option. To me, that should like take some of that pressure off of you because you're not the number one option. We kind of had that issue with Julius Randle. He said he didn't like being the first option or the second option. So I think that we just got to give the guy some grace. We don't listen. We've been waiting how many years for something new to happen and change. Change has been happening with the Knicks, and I know we want change and we want to see more consistency, better defense. I want to see Mikal play better defense as well. I don't want to just see improvement on the three, improvement on the shot making decisions. And, I watched an interview where Tom Thibodeau said he likes some of the things that he does see from Mikal and that he's cutting to the basket. He'll cut, or two people will cut, the two defenders follow those two guys that cut, and then Mikal ends up swinging around a curl and then he's open. But I just think because it's not consistent, what are you going to do? And then the shot's not falling down consistently. But it's not just Mikal. New York Knicks defense and rebounding is failing them. The Knicks are just 23rd in defensive rating. They're 116 points, 116.1 points per 100 possessions, down from 9th last season at 112.4 points per 100 possessions. And they're just 25th in rebounds per game at 41.8 and 21st in offensive rebounds per game, 9.5. That's after ranking 5th in total rebounds last year at 45.1 and leading the league on the offensive glass last year at 12.7. I still don't know what is the big change that the Knicks have lost that they don't have this year. Is it that you don't have an iHeart and you don't have Mitchell Robinson and you don't have Precious Achua who could help you with the boards and the blocks and in the paint? I mean, I can see where that's somewhat of the missing pieces, but it still leaves me to question the guys that are still playing on this roster, whether you're on the starting five or whether you're coming off the bench. Because if you're telling me those guys, Mitchell Robin and Precious, and then you lost Isaiah Hartenstein, two of the guys being out, the rest of the team don't play defense. Also, New York Knicks bench is presently 29th in offensive rating. So, you know, the Knicks have work to do defensively. I did a whole rant on that. I did say at the top of the season that I'm going to be an advocate for talking about defense this entire season. This Knicks team does not play defense. You barely beat Charlotte against their C squad. And it makes me wonder, like I said before, if LaMelo Ball was there, would they have won the game? I don't know. I don't know. It's a scary sighting. And I think that the Knicks team really has to figure out how to be a better, uh, stronger defensive team. They're not that yet. They're not that yet. And that's something that they have to turn around, because yeah, the media fans could be ripping into Mikal, but it's not just him. He's part of the piece, yeah. But I still question if he was giving the Knicks on a consistent basis 20 plus points a game, or I would say between 16 and 20 plus points a game, playing solid defense. He has a tough job every night defending the top player on the opposing team or one of the top players. Would the Knicks record be changed from what it is now? Would they have won maybe 3, 4 more games and be maybe 15-5? Would the defensive and offensive ratings be different? Or would they have good offense as they have, but the defense just still not be enough? Their defense is weak. And I think each game when we watch, it's exposed. So yeah, there's definitely something that the Knicks have to work on for sure. You know, and as far as Mikal, like I said, let's give him grace. He has to adjust to the other side of the bridge. I think he knows he's in the city and not in Brooklyn, but he hasn't made that adjustment just yet. And it's gonna take him some time. I hope it's sooner than later. I hope it's not gonna take him to, he don't pull a Alex Burke on us and decides, well, I'm gonna fire up in the playoffs. Yeah, we'll need it, but we need you also during the regular season. We need production. I said before I wasn't gonna panic with OG, who didn't have his last 2 games didn't play well. I think he only had like 8 points each game, but OG's been doing his thing. OG's been playing well. Actually, I actually have his I have put that down in my notes too for OG. Yeah, so OG Anunoby, he's averaging 36.4 minutes, 19 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game. He's shooting 52.4% from the field goal and 42% from the three. OG's doing his job. I'm not worried about OG. Mikal is playing 38 minutes per game. He's averaging 15.6 points per game, 3.5 assists per game. He's at 46.3 field goal percentage and 30% from the three-point line. Three-point line is still an issue. He has to figure out how to be better from the three. Honestly, I don't want him settling for the three anyway. Do what you do from the mid-range. He's clutch from the mid-range. To do that. And then, here and there you take your threes. Just don't settle for the three. And as a whole, the Knicks team settles for the three too much as well. And that's another thing that costs us games. On to news for Pacome, who is one of the rookies I said that I want to see get minutes. I've been an advocate for more of the rookies getting minutes as well this season. Pacome being one of them, Tyler Kolek, and Ariel Hukporti. Have we seen it? No. And I believe Tibbs had touched on the rookies in one of his recent post games, saying he was kind of comparing playing Mikal Bridges versus putting in if it was a rookie situation, basically saying like if it was a rookie, I would just, in other words, kind of sit the rookie down and then kind of go with familiarity of who I know on his team, basically, who I trust, which is a Tibbs thing. But I also think that with Tibbs, I already said it the last live, I brought my expectations of Thibodeau playing the rookies down. I'm not expecting to see that because Thibodeau is like literally, he's so predictable. Tibbs is very predictable. And if I'm a coach in the NBA, I could kind of read already what Tibbs is going to do. I already know who he's going to play. His same tired. Is it 8? Is it 8? I know it's 8, but is it actually 8? Because I feel like it's about 6. Maybe 7. And if you're a rookie, better hope that they're winning by at least 20, 25. And they have at least that 20, 25 point lead with about 4 minutes left to get some playing time. But if I'm a coach in the NBA, I'm looking at Tibbs and I'm like, yeah, it's predictable. You're going to play the same guys. JB, Carl Anthony. You're going to play Josh Hart the majority of the minutes, about 40, 41, maybe 42 minutes. You're going to play OG, Mikal, Deuce. That's who's playing. And you're going to play, what's his name? Cameron Payne. JB's going to run the show. Him and Cat, if they utilize the pick and roll. If the Knicks are moving the ball, okay, now we got to pick it up because they in a groove. If the Knicks start off strong, okay, we got to adjust quickly. They came out with some energy in the first quarter because that's another issue that's going on so far this year. Slow starts. So if the Knicks come out with high energy as a coach, I'm like, okay, they on their A game today. They not playing with us today. But sometimes the Knicks give up those leads as well, and they allow teams to come into games. I just feel like Tibbs doesn't do anything differently. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. There's no defense, so we could light it up from the three-point line and kill the Knicks on the three if we really want to. Just keep shooting the threes. They don't guard the three. Swing the ball, make the extra pass, cut to the basket, because once you get in the lane, they can't stop you there. They don't have any perimeter defense or interior paint defense. Tibbs is not going to throw any different type of schemes out there. Not many looks on the play either. So if you're an opposing team in the NBA, you can really capitalize on the Knicks. If they don't come out aggressive and with high intensity from the jump ball, they don't play perimeter defense. There's no interior paint defense. Thibodeau doesn't throw out any different wrenches in the game that a coach could be like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that. It's the same. I just named the lineup. It's the same thing. So unless the Knicks is on one of those games where they're like swinging the ball, they're passing, guys are cutting, they're getting in the open lane, getting easy baskets, knocking down the threes, then as a team you got to be like, okay, we got to put our foot on the gas. And not to say teams take their foot off the gas and they play lax against the Knicks, but when you play against the Knicks, being coached by Tibbs, they're so predictable. Tibbs doesn't switch anything up. It's the same thing. Back home, back to him. The Knicks announced that they have assigned Pacome Daddier to the Westchester Knicks. I don't know how temporary this is. I don't know if he's going to flip-flop back and forth from G League, if he's going to be ready and come back for the game on Tuesday against Orlando. I don't know. You know, I mean, Daddier has a long NBA career ahead of him. He's a pretty good player. 19 years old, selected 25th overall in the draft, out of France. And he's had some moments so far with the Knicks. He's appeared in 10 games out of the first 19 games in limited minutes. As we know, Tibbs doesn't play rookies. I think his last game was against Denver he played? Yeah, he played against Denver. Usually on the floor no more than 10 minutes. But now it's 3 times. He had about 10 minutes of playing time. And I think his best game was against the Wizards. Played 18 minutes. He had 9 points. Career high for him. So I'm not sure what's going on with the whole Pacome situation. Maybe they feel like he needs more development. I'm not sure. We'll see if he's going to kind of do a back and forth between G League and then playing in Knicks games or on the Knicks bench, and if Tibbs throws him in the game. We'll see. And then we got to talk about the injury report as well. Precious Achiuwa. So it's reported that he's warmed up with the team before some recent games, which is a good thing, right? So Tibbs did say that he's pretty much doing everything now. There's still really no concrete, this is when he's returning, but okay, he's pretty much doing everything now, which is great. Last season, Precious averaged 7.2 rebounds in 49 games with the Knicks last season. As far as we know, he's listed as day-to-day. Day-to-day. So we got to wait another day to figure out which day he'll be back. And we'll see. Shout out to the chat. Nostalgic Nick. Blessings to you. Ajay, salute. What's going on, Ajay? Ajay said the biggest change is chemistry, but the teal is also structurally flawed. This is a totally different team from last season, so comparing them is pointless. It is. The Knicks definitely have new additions to this team. Not gonna disregard that. And the chemistry is off for sure. The Knicks, they have to figure out how to play together, how to hold each other accountable defensively and offensively, and on the decision making. He said this is a brand new situation for everyone on the team, including JB, Hart, and Deuce. They all have to adjust, and so far they haven't been able to. Yeah, there's something missing, and this is why I asked. I wonder who's the vocal leader on this Knicks team. Who's the vocal leader? Who's the person saying we have to tighten up? You gotta you're watching enough film that if I'm a player and I'm sitting in the locker room and we watching film, like pause. Okay, you see how you're here, you're there. I'm noticing that it's a repeated pattern. Like, who's saying these things to the guys on the team? Is anyone saying that? Because maybe they are. I don't know. But like we're making the same mistakes every game. People out of positioning on the defense. Players wide open at the shortest end of the 3-point line or at the top of the key. A player will help out on defense. Because I noticed the Knicks do that a lot too. Like they're so concerned with helping their teammate out on defense that then they leave their man. And now it's too late because now you're trying to run to your play defense on the offense, but because you're so concerned, like I noticed the Knicks do that a lot. They're so concerned with playing help defense instead of just focusing on playing man-to-man defense. And I gotta stick with my my opponent. There's a lot of like if you got two guys at the top, about a little bit above the free throw line or in that area, we'll just use Deuce McBride and we'll use Josh Hart, for example. Deuce is like he's looking to see if Josh Hartman is trying to come to the basket because he wants to come over and help. And I get it, but that's not working. Somehow then they both end up, two Knicks defenders end up in the paint area. And now you got one of those opposing team, the offense, somebody's open. Or they're either cutting, they're open to set a screen. And then you got those two Knicks defenders. There's somehow they're like they stepped in mud. And then they just kind of almost like they're challenging the offense to shoot. I don't see a lot of times I don't see those guys boxing out. And then we lose out on the rebound. They get another rebound, they get an opportunity to get another basket. But I noticed that with the Knicks, like there's a lot of like when they're playing defense, they're playing off of their man so that they can kind of worry about guarding the paint. And someone said this in a chat. They said, I think Tibbs' scheme is he wants guys to crowd the paint and protect the paint and just let the team shoot the perimeter deep, shoot the perimeter three. That's not working. It's not working. And I'm not understanding if I don't know again. I don't know if it's like, well, because they're the head coach and you're just the assistant coach, you're like, I can't really step on their toes. They the coach. I could just throw out suggestions and work on players with this, that, and the third and let them know. I don't know what it is. But we're so focused, the Knicks, defensively, they play a lot of help defense. So they're like, then that's how teams end up open. And it hurts them in the long run. I don't know. It's just very weird the way the Knicks play defense. Salute to Eddie C. He said, too much time to adjust after 20 games is fair to pass judgment. Bridges is not dependable. Yeah, I mean, listen, after 20 games, I agree. We've given you time to see what your identity is. I think we see where they are right now. Doesn't seem like the Knicks have a strong identity. They have to figure out who they are. They haven't figured that out yet. The chemistry is far gone. It's not there. The defense is not there. Even on offensive takes, it's not there. I see some fans, they voice their complaints that they feel like Jalen Brunson's still doing too much one-on-one. Maybe when he first got to the Knicks, I would say, okay. I used to say I understand it because who was he going to pass it to? Who was going to shoot the ball? But last season and this season, you have help. You have guys who can make the shots. I think he needs to work on balance of becoming a playmaker, of being a playmaker, excuse me, not becoming, but being a playmaker and being a facilitator, setting your players up, your other teammates up to score. And he's capable of doing that, but he has to figure out how to that balance. I think also like I don't know if he's that much of a vocal leader in the locker room, but figuring out getting his team in a better position. They're off balance, this Knicks team. They are very much off balance. And while I do blame Tibbs a part of it because he's so predictable, he can't go out there and play the game for these players. They have to go out there and play. But I do blame Tibbs because we're running the same thing. It's just a different day, a different night, a different matinee game. And, like I said, it makes me wonder if you have Mitchell Robinson here, you have Precious Achua, does that change things for this team? I don't know. You got Deuce McBride back, you got Campaign back, but it still doesn't seem to be enough. And will it be enough? And will there be change that we'll see when you get Precious and Mitchell Robinson back? Move Cat to the cat. Put OG back on the perimeter. Yeah, I think the problem is because the defense isn't good. OG ends up having to take on that player who's just dominating because he's our best defender. Move Cat to the 4. Playing an 8-man rotation is insane. Tibbs will run the boys to the ground. Yeah, this was a concern that we had last year with the Knicks. Tibbs playing players way too many minutes. Me personally, I've said this a few times already so far this season. I don't know how long that's going to last. You playing Josh Hart 42, 41 minutes. Someone said in the chat, I can't remember who, but they said they feel like, or rather Josh Hart doesn't mind playing the high minutes like that. Like he can't sit on the bench long because he needs to be out there running. And I don't know, because while I'm an advocate for Tibbs playing the rookies, I think, well, if Tibbs plays the rookies or gives them some kind of minutes, does that still change how many minutes Tibbs is still going to put on the starters? Because the Knicks still don't have enough depth within their bench yet. And then even when they do get, Achua and Mitchell Robinson back, is that enough? Is that sustainable that he can rotate the starters, put the bench in, do a combination of the starters and the bench? I don't know. I also feel like Tibbs is still trying to figure out what rotations and combinations work good, which works best. 20 games in, he's still trying to figure that out. Start Hart off the bench. Let Deuce start so we can get a good first quarter. But you think Deuce is going to make that much of an impact and change that you rather start Deuce McBride? I don't know. I don't know if Deuce can give you the threes, but I don't know if he's going to give you everything that Josh Hart can give you with the double-double, triple-doubles. I don't know. Knicks play tonight at 6. It's an early game. They play against New Orleans. Like I said, the Knicks are 11-8 and 5-2 at home. New Orleans is 4-16 and 1-9 on the road. They also have lost 7 straight games in a row. This is a game that the Knicks should not lose. I don't want to see a repeat of what happened in Utah or in Dallas, where the Knicks decide that they're going to allow New Orleans to win their 5th game in a row, their 5th game of the season. This is a team that's only won 1 game on the road. They're 1-9 on the road. No reason why you should be allowing them to get a win at MSG. On top of that, the Knicks are at home their next couple of games. Let me see something because I think this is wrong. Hold on. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So the Knicks are 11-8. They're in fourth, trailing behind Orlando, who's 14-7. Knicks are 11-8. Boston and Cleveland are starting to open the gap little by little. Atlanta and Milwaukee, they're starting to heat up. Atlanta's 10-11. Milwaukee's 10-9. So the Knicks gotta get some wins under their belt. They play today. This should be a win. They play again on Tuesday. That's going to be an interesting matchup to play against Orlando because they're going to try to stay undefeated in the NBA in-season tournament. They can go 4-0. So that game Tuesday, Orlando. Then they play a rematch against Charlotte on Thursday. That's at 7:30. And then they play next Saturday at 7:30, also at home against Detroit. I have the Knicks at 3-1. I'm not sure if that one loss comes from Orlando or the randomness of either Charlotte or Detroit if they can't close it out. Because when we play teams like Detroit, Charlotte, we play teams like Washington, Brooklyn, the games are always close. It's a back and forth, tit for tat. You score, I'm a score. You score, we're gonna come down and score. It's a back and forth game. So it can be random between those two teams, Charlotte or Detroit, or Orlando, who the Knicks had issues with last season beating. May give the Knicks a run for their money. But we can't have a repeat of not just Utah and Dallas, but also when we play Charlotte, who the Knicks played against their C squad. In Dallas, you had no Clay, no Doncic. Like, come on. This is what I mean with the Knicks. You got to figure it out. When teams don't have their best players on that floor, you got to capitalize. You have to capitalize and take advantage, impose your will, want it more. So we'll see. I got the Knicks 3-1. Next 4 games are at home, so take advantage, and then the Knicks are back on the road for the next 3 games after that. So we'll see. What happens with this Knicks team. Trap game tonight for sure. Because this is one of those games that we're like the Knicks should be winning, which the Knicks should for sure beat New Orleans. There's no reason why you should be losing to a team who's only won one game on the road, who've only won 4 games. They're sitting dead stinking last in the West. Handle business, don't play with your food, and win. David Smith salutes that a win is not just a win when you have title aspirations. Scoring only 99 points against G League Hornets with only 1 starter and a decimated bench is unacceptable with a roster like the Knicks. I agree. And that's what I mean. Like, the Knicks barely beat Charlotte. And if you ask me, I think if LaMelo Ball was there, it would have been a different outcome because he runs their show. And he's been on a tear this season. So Yeah, I think that and then you didn't even score over 100 points. You played against the G League C squad. I'm questioning this next team. He said the biggest concern is not the defense to me. I think it is lack of ball movement consistently from game to game. Doesn't look like a consistent offensive plan. Denver is the blueprint for their offense. Well, it is also the defense. If you can't get any stops on the perimeter, if you can't get any stops in the paint, then what are you doing? You're just trading baskets. You're trying to climb back into games because we started slow. Hell, even if you start quick and teams are on the tear because you don't play good defense and you're getting easy buckets, you're knocking down your free throws, you're hitting the threes, ball movement, yeah, that's all well and good. You could be having great ball movement, knocking down shots from every which way, but you're playing catch up. And we've seen that episode from the Knicks where they're playing catch up. They did that against Dallas. They kept trying to crawl into the game, and it wasn't enough. Every time the Knicks got within a fighting chance of maybe 12, 13 points, their coach was like, timeout. That's what really good coaches do. I'm not going to allow you get it to 10, 9. No, I'm going to call a timeout way before then. So I could regroup my team and put a stop to that. So the Knicks need ball movement, of course. The passing, they lost that with Isaiah Hartenstein. The ball movement, they haven't done that either. I've seen it 3 games so far this season. There's no ball movement. There's no unselfish ball movement. There's not the extra pass that they was doing last season. There's nobody really cutting to the basket like they were doing last year. Again, the 3, maybe 4 games I've seen them do it, the Knicks have a habit of, again, they move away from what works for them. Like if you did that the last game, why are you not doing that this game? You didn't even try. It blows my mind how the Knicks move away from what works for them as a team. It's mind-boggling. I'm not sure why do they do that, but for sure, it is also the lack of ball movement, and it's the consistency this team lacks. It's the discipline this team lacks from game to game. And if you don't have everything combined and as a package deal, ball movement, defense, playing with more intensity from the jump ball, playing with high intensity in the third quarters, imposing your will, figuring out how to score outside of the 3-point line. Stop settling for threes, figuring out how to box out, figuring out how to talk to each other on the floor, figuring out how to be more consistent. Stop moving away from what works for you. It can't be individual guys having good games. We've had games just where we've seen 4, 5 guys have solid games where they're in double figures or have double doubles. Yes, but it has to be on a consistent basis. This is what I mean. This team is not consistent. You can't win 1, 2 games and then you lose 2, 3. You got to be consistent. Because you're in 4th now. You don't want to see yourself moving, creeping to 5th, 6th, hell, even 7th. And now you got to fight your way at the end of the season. Don't put yourself in that position. Don't even put yourself in that position where you got to try to fight your way back through the season. Oh, we got to try to win these games. Don't even do it. It's stressful even thinking about it. It almost gave me a headache just now. The Knicks have to tighten up their act. Offense is not an issue. We know this team could score. But it's the way you're capitalizing on the offense. It's the way you throw that offense out there. And it's the same thing for the defense. It's the way you're playing defense. It's the way you're playing man to man. It's the way you're attempting to get out to the perimeter and try to put your hand up and guard somebody who's shooting a 3. instead of watching. You're not at the movie theater. You're not waiting for the next train. Try. Where's the heart? Where's the effort? Stop watching. The defense is weak. It's exposed. You watch and you're like, wow, look. So what are you gonna do tonight when you play and CJ McCollum just chucking up, doing whatever he wants? Because that's another thing too. The Knicks could be winning like when we play Phoenix, and Devin Booker kept going to the left. I said, so nobody's gonna cut his left side off. Just going to the left, just doing the same move, driving, doing whatever he feels like doing. Some teams we have no answer for certain players, and they don't even have to be the A1 star player. Just no answer because the defense is not good. It's weak. It's weak. And this is something that the Knicks have to really figure out. Where do you see that the Knicks are ranked 17th and improving? And where do you see that the defense is not that bad? Because maybe me and you are watching different games. The Knicks are 23rd in defensive rating. Unless to you that's not that bad. That's okay. Eddie C said our plays are so predictable. A good coach will find ways to beat us. Once JB is double teamed, our offense is shut down. Yeah, this is what I mean by the schemes. I think it's a combination though. I think it's the schemes or the lack thereof, rotations, individual players, the chemistry as a whole, as a team. It's a combination of it all. The Knicks have to tighten up. We're second in offensive rating and efficiency, but how long would that last? Yeah, that's why I say the offense is not a problem. Salute to Diva Locks. I'm not worried about the offense. And very, very good question. How long will that last? Because the Knicks allow teams to score 129, 145 if they feel like it, because you don't play defense. Even games that the Knicks have won, I'm like, well, damn, you won, but you still allowed the team to score 115, 120 points. So you're not playing no defense if the team still scored that many points. And how a lot of teams end up biting into the lead, even if the Knicks still won by 15, 20, is because you notice at the end of the games, you got the BC squad players coming in. They just chucking up threes when they come in the game because the Knicks don't guard the perimeter. Hit them up, New York, New Jersey. Salute. David Smith said, Coach and Captain Brunson have to figure out how to get the consistency. I agree. That's why I wonder how much of a vocal leader is Brunson utilizing his voice. If it's not Brunson, who else? Who's calling out other teammates and being like, yo, we got to tighten up? I don't want to hear what you're telling the press because you're trained to talk to media and give like safe answers or responses rather. I want to know like who's calling out who in practices and who's saying when they're watching film, because I swear I'm in the locker room, but when they're watching film, who's saying, yo, pause the tape and just look at where y'all standing. Because I'm sure they have enough technology that you could pull up several games at one time and then show stills of the defense and where players are out of position. Who's calling guys out? Doing the same thing, expecting a different result. It's insanity. And until the consistency is addressed, until the defense is called out as a team and individually, until the effort from the start of the game is called out, because these slow starts is also killing the Knicks. Why the hell are they starting slow? I don't know. I don't know. What are you starting slow for? Jump ball means you ready to go. Not, I'm still tying my sneaker. Not literally, but come on. Why are you not ready? Cat must change tactics when his threes are not falling. And it's not just Cat. They all do. That's what I was saying a few minutes ago. This Knicks team, another thing that kills them, and this has been a thing with the Knicks for many years, they settle for the threes and they'll just keep shooting them, keep shooting them. And I don't know if it's because the dialogue is keep shooting, because you're going to tell shooters to keep shooting, shooters are going to keep shooting. But at some point, for the love of God, do you say, well, they're not knocking down, they're not falling down, so let me resort to a mid-range. Let me drive. Let me try something different to see the ball go through the hoop, one or two, build up my confidence, and then I'll go back to shooting some threes. But the Knicks will keep shooting threes. I've seen it even when they had Mitchell Robinson, and he'll get them the offensive rebound, kick it out, popping up another three. This is not your, some nights it's not going to be your night as a team and individually. You're not going to knock down the threes, but you got to switch it up. And this is what I mean sometimes when I question Tibbs. Tibbs wants threes this year. I don't know if Tibbs looked at the game of NBA now and said, it's about the three. I don't know. He saw maybe how well they did from the three and said, I want them shooting more threes. But that's not the only answer. That's not the only way. Paris Struggle Salute said, we got to be careful being too critical of the team because they played 11 out of 19 games on the road. 11-8 means things aren't terrible. It's still a new process. Absolutely, it's still a process. I don't think that it's necessarily being critical. I think it's being realistic. Got to be realistic here and call a spade and call out the flaws that's happening with this team. And I think part of the reason why we call out these flaws now is because it's early in the season. And I think there's plenty of people in the Knicks fan base who want to see this Knicks team correct these issues that they're having now while it's early in the season before it gets too late. I'm not hitting the panic button. I said at the top of the show, this is not a slander Mikal Bridges show or episode. We got to give him grace. The man said he's figuring it out and he's trying to adjust on the other side of the bridge, and he will adjust. We know what he can do. We know what this Knicks team could do, but they have to adjust the woes that they're going through now. If they can figure it out and maybe turn a page after All-Star break, great. They'll find the chemistry. They'll find their rhythm. They'll be playing better defense. The offense will be clicking. There'll be more unselfish plays and better ball movement, attacking the rim, guarding the paint, guarding the perimeter, starting off games strong with higher intensity, starting off the third quarter strong with high intensity. Then yes. Then we'll say, okay, we don't really look like we missed too much of a beat. I didn't expect them to start off like they were the Cleveland Cavaliers or the Boston Celtics because they added pieces here. Carl Anthony came fresh off the plane and put on a shirt and a scrimmage jersey and had to try to gel in with the players. So, and it's the same thing. You get Precious and Mitchell back. Are they going to be in good shape and conditioned and ready? Mitch is going to be on limited minutes. He can't play a lot of minutes when he first comes back. So, I think that this team, and I also don't want to leave excuses out there for this team either. You're getting paid millions of dollars. You're going to have stretches throughout an 82 game season where you're going to be on the road for a long time. Just like I said, I didn't want to hear about altitude in Utah. I don't want to hear about this. I don't want to hear it. We're calling it out like it is. Just like most New Yorkers don't have time for the BS, give it to them straight. That's what this is. I'm not going to be overcritical, but this is what I'm seeing. I understand that the stats show one thing. But when you actually watch the games, sometimes it shows something else. And it's more consistent of showing something else than not. This team has to figure out their chemistry and their identity. They're a little lost out there right now. You can't have it where it's just individual guys, where some nights it's JB that got to get you through the hump. Some nights it's OG that got to get through the hump. Sometimes it's Carl Anthony. Like, it needs to be more of a collective effort. We've seen that already where it was individual, and we had Randall and Brunson who was giving us 40, 45 a night, but we wasn't winning. What good is that if you don't win? So they have to figure out who they are, get back to playing true Knicks basketball, what we saw a lot of last season while they were successful. Figure out how to be successful, not just through the regular season, but at home, on the road. The minute situation, I don't know. I have nothing for you there because I don't know what Tibbs is going to do there. I just hope that these players can not only stay healthy, but have enough to give come the second round. Have enough to give for the first round, which we know they could do, but have enough in them to continue to keep fighting and go on in the second round. And I hope that they're capable of doing that. So Precious is trade available December 6th. He might play tonight. Yeah, I saw someone else said that he might play tonight. We'll see. We'll see. Nick Yak Salute said Brunson 8 assists, shooting 49% and 39% from three. What's any fan's problem about so-called slow start from Brunson? Yeah, Brunson, his numbers didn't really change, even with somewhat of a slow start this season. When you compare his numbers from last year to this year, actually this year it's a little bit higher. But again, just like with Mikal Bridges, we can't point the finger at just one guy. It takes 5 of you at a time on the court to gather a win. So I'm holding this whole team accountable to figure out how to fix this mess. The whole jug of water didn't spill on the floor, but there's some that they need to clean up. No Brandon Ingram today. Well, there you have it. But can the Knicks capitalize? We played against a few teams and they haven't had key players, and the Knicks struggle to capitalize. We love our team, hence our criticisms. We have grounds to back our concerns. Absolutely. Paris said, this isn't our regular unit yet. We had major injuries. I blame Tibbs for not playing the roster correctly. Yeah. I mean, so far this season, we don't have a man down situation where, like it was last year. We mainly have Mitchell Robinson. That's, he's out. Precious Achua's out. They'll both be back soon. Precious being back more quickly than Mitch. But like I said, I still wonder how this next team is going to look once you get Mitchell Robinson back. Does everything start to click? And now they're finding their footing. They got their rhythm back. The chemistry's there. Or are we still kind of on an inconsistent basis and still trying to find out our identity, but still trucking along because maybe the East isn't that good? And I don't want to get comfortable with where the East standings are now. Not just because it's early, but because teams that may be struggling now, they can find their rhythm and their footing and go on a roll. And all of a sudden start winning games back to back, go on a win streak. Teams that are at seventh and sixth could end up in the fourth spot in the East. So last year, the East wasn't good. Just like the same could be said for the Knicks, they can turn it around. And they can. They will. But I don't want us to settle as fans for 50 games again. Like let's have some higher expectations this year. I'm not saying to go overboard, but let's have higher expectations this year. Like 50 games is cool, but let's strive to get more than that. Let's also strive to get out of the second round this year, which I believe there's pressure on this Knicks team from the front office, from the fan base as well, to get past the second round. So you got to get the job done no matter what. And for Mikal Bridges, if you're struggling, there's other things you can do on the floor for this Knicks team to contribute. You don't have to just shoot threes and shoot the mid-range. There's other things you can do. Work on improving your defense at the same time. Carl Anthony got to work on his defense. Collectively, this team has to work on their defense. So, there's other things that you can do that may not show up on a stat sheet, but that can help this team out tremendously. Ajay said, Lady, if Tibbs thinks the new NBA is all about three-point shooting, three-pointers, he should also design sets to defend the three-pointer. Just saying, I absolutely agree. And this is why I have those question marks with Tibbs. When I heard that he wanted this team to shoot more threes, I was like, okay, is that because the Knicks did well shooting from threes? You had the guys in place to shoot the threes last year. And you have it this year as well. I'm loving the confidence that I see from both Josh Hart and Deuce McBride shooting from beyond the arc, as well as Brunson, Carl Anthony. But I'm like OG Anunoby. But I'm like, is that the only way? I don't know. And then if that's the case, I agree, Ajay. Why are we not better defensively guarding that three-point line? I don't care where it is on the floor. The shortest end, the top of the key, at the angle on the left or the right. This Knicks team got to be better at defending the three. It's very weak. It's too much space. They're too late to get to the three. Having trouble fighting over the screen. Sometimes there's miscommunication when there's help defense, or if guys switch off to help and roll over, the other guy doesn't roll over. There's no communication from the team, from teammates. There's no communication from Tibbs. Like I said, I hear Tibbs yelling something from the bench, but it just sounds like he has a pack of Oreos stuffed in his throat and you can't even understand what he's saying. I don't know. Nobody is asking we win every game, but it's unacceptable for struggling teams to outclass and beat us. Absolutely, 100%. Every night is not going to be your night, whether that's as a team or individually as a player. It's okay to have off nights, but you got to be more consistent and have better effort. Because even if you do lose, you're like, all right, I like the fight. It was a tough one. Just wasn't their night. But when you have teams and they're missing Clay and Luka Doncic, and you allow Kyrie look so comfortable out there, was like he was on skates, just comfortable. No Brandon Ingram tonight. Only won 4 games in total for the season. Only won 1 game on the road. New Orleans is stinking up the joint, but can the Knicks capitalize tonight? When teams come to the Garden, they like to go off. Players like that. I'm gonna make 50 tonight. I'm gonna make 50 because I'm at the Garden. This is where people watch games. I expect a strong game from OG and Mikal tonight. Same. You guys were both off the last 2 games. I'm expecting a rebound tonight. Absolutely. David Smith said Coach Tibbs makes no adjustments in game. He doesn't use the bench enough, regardless of how starters performing. Tibbs doesn't seem to have learned anything from the last 4 years. Yeah, he's stuck in his ways, and he's very predictable. The whole squad is Alvarado, Zion, Ingram, and Jones. The, the Knicks better be up by 30. Don't take your foot off the gas. Be up by 30 and call it a day. Call it a night so you could end it early and go home. Tibbs should be able to play the rookies tonight. Should be able to play the rookies in more than 5 minutes. If you go up by 30, then and you have that foot and maintain that for the majority of the game, then you don't have to play Josh Hart 40 plus minutes. Nick Yaksak, team is missing a rim protector and more rebounding help. His name is Mitch for everyone who wants to trade Mitch. We need this dude, especially offensive rebounds. The team does need Mitchell Robinson. There's no doubt about that. And I don't think that this Knicks team doesn't say that. I think this Knicks team is frustrating because as a business, you're like, damn, he's valuable here, but he stays hurt. How long do you hold on to a player like that who's very fragile? He works hard, gets in shape, comes back from an injury, crack, something else is hurt. Or he starts off a season real strong, quick, fast, up and down the floor, sustains an injury at some point during the season or in the playoffs. This is not once or twice. This is like his entire tenure with the Knicks. This has been the consistent problem. He's injury prone. And, I remember when fans were saying that we should get Paul George. Why? If you already have an injury prone Mitchell Robinson and OG Anunoby. Do you want us to have no one to be available to play? And I said this a few episodes ago too. Like, I don't know what's going on in the NBA, but everybody seems to be hurt. And I think that's part of why the viewership has been kind of low so far. Because it's like, I said the game has also changed. It's not as very defensive minded. Post players are not really posting. They don't post anymore. Everybody wants to shoot threes. And I don't know what's the cause for all the injuries. I don't know if it's you playing so much pickup ball in the off season, and by the time the regular season comes, you use a good percentage of your battery. Now you down to about 75, 70%. And you don't have that quick charger for your iPhone. The quick ones is gotta get one of those. Like charge your phone in about 30 minutes. I got one of those. Or is it the diets? I don't know. You know? What are these guys eating? Because they can afford chefs. Shamet was a big, big part of the plan. Absolutely. They need him back as well. I liked what I saw from him in the preseason. I was like, wow, breath of fresh air. Need that. Absolutely need him back. So I hope he can recover and come back as well. Hit him up. New York, New Jersey said easy stretch for the Knicks coming up except OKC and Orlando. I got us going 19 and 10. Yeah, I kind of touched on this the last episode too. I was saying how I was reading off the next like about 10, 12 games or so, and a lot of those games the Knicks should win. A lot of those teams, Washington's, yeah, just teams, the Knicks, Detroit's, you should be beating these teams. You gotta Figure out a way to get wins under your belt. Go on a win streak. That's okay. It's more than welcome. Go on a win streak. You got them 19-10. I'm gonna relook at that schedule and see where I have the Knicks at. But yeah, I agree. A lot of those games the Knicks should be able to win. Reasons of the struggle: one, Bridges, his defense; two, the refs not calling fouls for Cat; and three, Tibbs' stubbornness. I don't. The refs are going to be refs regardless, right? Some games in the NBA, I think that we have the refs from the WNBA who are trash. You know, when you're a 4 or 5 player, you're not going to get a lot of calls in your favor, especially when you're on the road. That's a given. So I'm gonna eliminate the refs. Tibbs' stubbornness, yes. I said Tibbs is part of the equation of the early season struggles. And then Mikal Bridges, yeah, I think individually as a player, he's one of those players he has to lock in. He has to get out his head mentally. He's putting pressure on himself to try to beat a man here, and it's making him fail. Allow the game to come to you. Relax. Allow the game to come to you. Don't settle for the threes. Get out your head. Keep continue to get better each game. Get better on defense, and he'll improve. But he's definitely in his own way. Kareem Grant, salute. Happy Sunday to you as well. Wesley Robinson, salute to you as well. Said, I'm checking in from Strong Island, New York. I blame Tibbs for running guys into the ground and not putting Bridges in spots for his deadly mid-range game, and doesn't run pick and rolls for Brunson and Cat. That's where a part of where I say I blame Tibbs comes from. Because as the coach, when you watch coaches in like college, if they tell you to run a play or this is what they need from you individually and as a team, you're going to do it. And sometimes I feel like in the NBA, it's a little too laxed. Like, yeah, the coach is going to say this, that, and the third, and this is what I need. But are the players really executing it to the level where every time that the coach is asking for that play or scheme to be done? And if you have the combo, which, by the way, Carl Anthony and Brunson are the number one point guard center duo in the league. But if you have the talent like those two guys, but you're not capitalize on it every night, and you're not utilizing the pick and roll on a consistent basis, there's some concern there because I'm wondering why you're not utilizing it. Tibbs playing guys a bunch of minutes, again, I don't know where do you change that. Because it's like once Tibbs is set on who his starters is, that's his main squad. The rest of the guys are fillers. They're fillers. Even if you're on the bench, you're a filler. So I don't know how do you make him adjust not playing Josh, especially and other guys, 40 minutes a night, damn near. Because Josh is playing about 40, 41 minutes a night. How do you change that? And you mentioned Bridges in his spots for his mid-range. That is lethal and deadly. And that's where I want him to shoot more from. See the ball go through the basket with the mid-range, build up that confidence, and then start taking some threes. But I remember when we had Grimes had 21 against us when we played them just the other night. Not the other night because we played Charlotte a few games ago. When we had Grimes here, I remember I brought this up. Grimes, I felt like two things. Grimes was put into a predicament where he had to come out and play a position that he really wasn't set up to play. You know, it was circumstances. He had to play, he had to start, whatever. Didn't work on his favor. I think there was a lot of pressure he had on himself to try to perform, to come out and do what needed to be done. But on the other side of that, I used to always say, it used to bother me because I used to say, Tibbs is not utilizing Grimes properly. I always used to say this to Diva. If Grimes was on another team, they would have him coming off screens, coming off the curl, coming off a double screen, having him run up, catch, shoot, boop, knock, you know what I mean? Knock the ball down. We wasn't really doing that with Grimes. And then when we got Dante DiVincenzo, I said, well, Dante DiVincenzo's able to get off the shots that he wants. But I think it's because two things. Dante having more experience in the league versus Grimes. So he's been in the league a lot longer. But two, I think it's just different types of playing and playing styles. Different types of players and playing styles. So Dante DiVincenzo he didn't get that either. He didn't get the screens and the coming off of curls and getting open to be able to catch and shoot. And the same thing you kind of see with Deuce McBride. You know, Deuce a lot of times is shooting with a hand right in his face. It works. He's worked on his shot. But Tibbs is not one of those coaches that can set up different offensive plays where he sets up his shooters. You kind of got to get your own when you play under Tibbs. You got to figure out how to, get the ball, and I got to catch it. I got to create enough space for myself. But everybody's not a Melo or a Brunson where you could do that. Some guys need a screen. They need to be able to catch it and boom, knock that shot down. And I think some of that was part of the reason why Grimes struggled here. That was part of some of the reasons, because Grimes wasn't even like a RJ where he could put the ball on the floor and get to the basket. He was good with that when he was on a fast break, right? He had quick hands. A lot of times he was able to get the steals at times, but Dante also, like an OG, was able to see the ball, see his man, and he had those quick hands. He was able to get those steals, go down the other end, dunk, get a layup, whatever. But he was able to, he's a better shooter than Grimes, but he had to create his own. There wasn't really plays set up for Dante to score at will and set him up to score, shoot threes rather. So Wesley, I agree with you. A part of it, absolutely, I blame Tibbs. I for sure blame Tibbs. David Smith said, Mitch not consistent or reliable and is injury prone and getting worse every year. I think it's the biggest thing with Mitch is the reliability. He's not reliable. And we need a center who can give you what Mitch does, but who can give us a solid, I don't know, hell, give us 60, 65 games. Then if you need those couple of games to kind of sit out, 15 games or so, 20 games, but you could come back for the playoffs, I don't mind. I'm okay with that. A minor injury, cool, but when you got to get your ankle back together, back sewn together, repaired together, that's major. You're out. Can't even walk. That's your foot, your ankle. So I don't know. Kareem said, I need a Knicks win today for my early birthday present tomorrow. Oh, salute to you, Kareem. Happy early birthday. Eddie said, Lady, I like your optimism on winning next games. Yeah, I still got them at 3-1. They got to start winning some games, getting some wins under your belt. Nick Yak said, Mitch played 66 games as a 19-year-old. Coach didn't play him early season. His second season missed 5 games, 61 to 66 COVID year, and missed 10 in the 72 games played last season. 3 years, missed 15 total. But Mitch is also a big part of this team. Part of that you can blame on the front office because, sure, they got lucky. They got Isaiah Hartenstein. But I always go back to this. When you go back to last year in the first round, the Knicks needed Mitchell Robinson. Embiid had his way over Isaiah Hartenstein, who had no answer for Joel Embiid. Isaiah Hartenstein comes, excuse me, Mitchell Robinson comes in a game. Joel Embiid had to think twice before he made his move. So this is what I think it's more of about the timing of when Mitchell Robinson is missing games. It kind of hurts them in that you need him in the playoffs for the long run. You know, like last year in the second round, Josh Hart bruised the rib. OG hurt the hamstring or whatever injury it was. It's just the Knicks were collapsing and falling like flies. And that goes back to Tibbs playing guys so many freaking minutes. That's not sustainable. You get to the second round, the playoffs only gets harder each round. It's supposed to be harder. It's supposed to be like the Hunger Games. It's challenging. Round one, great. Hooray. You got past that. Round two, it's harder. Can't get past that. How the hell are you going to get to the Eastern Conference Finals? But I think as far as Mitch, it's the timing of when he misses games. It hurts them in the long run. But even if you look at the overall picture, it's the reliability that he lacks. We know what he can do defensively. We know the defensive presence he brings. He's a beast. The second and third, fourth chance opportunities he gives this team. But if we can't have you for enough games on a consistent basis, it helps us. It hurts us. How about off-ball screens to get shooters open? Celtics use it all the time, and we hardly use it. Yeah, that's another thing that I put on tips. Starts with the coach. You got to demand what you need. Demand change. Because what you're doing now isn't working. Wash, ENT, salute to you, sir. Word the word you're looking for is structure. Tibbs relies on his stars to do the work too much until we get to the playoffs. Tibbs doesn't coach us like we have weapons. Exactly. You see the common denominator here is Tibbs. It starts with the coach. I get that he can't go out there and play for them, but it starts with the coach. We miss Johnny Bryan as an assistant coach. He developed Donovan Mitchell in Utah, and he developed Randall, RJ, Toppin, Grimes quickly, Hartenstein, and Deuce. Also, Tibbs looks lost. Yeah, I don't know what Tibbs is doing. Yeah, I mean, the Knicks got a different medical staff here. Now, development and training, I'm not sure what's going on there. You know, Grimes was also good going baseline from the corner. He just didn't drive it there enough. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Listen, what I do know is that the Knicks need to win tonight. It's an early game. Get it out the way. This New Orleans team has only won one game on the road. They're 1-9. They've only won 4 games total this season. Do not allow them to get their fifth win. And I want to see the Knicks get this game out the way and be ready for Orlando on Tuesday. Look to stay undefeated in the Commissioner's Cup. Excuse me, the in-season tournament. I'm confusing it with the WNBA. That's what they call it. So get the win. Charlotte's going to look to come for their ass and try to get a win on Thursday. So be ready for Charlotte. And don't take Detroit lightly. Because that Cunningham, he do whatever the hell he want to do against the Knicks. Whatever he want to do is what he going to do against the Knicks. Even with good defense from Brunson or whoever's guarding him. Shout out to the chat, everybody that joined me today. You guys were on fire today. Nostalgic Nick, Ajay, who you can catch on Dope Soul Sports and Knicks Talk on Thursdays with Queen. Shout out to Jarrell, who hosts Die Hard Giants channel. Check him out as well. and Jeff Clafter from the Happily Ever Clafter blog, excuse me. Shout out to you, Ajay. Eddie C. joining in as always. David Smith. Shout out to Hit 'em Up, New York, New Jersey. Always joining in. Paris Jugger, always here, showing love. Pops One, Pops One. I haven't seen you here in a while, Pops One, Pops One, but I remember I used to see you in the chat. So shout out to you as well. Who else? Nick Yak, always in the chat, showing love as well. Kareem Grant, happy early birthday to you again, Kareem, always in the chat, showing love. Wesley Robinson, salute to you as well. Wash ENT, salute to you as well. And shout out to Divalux as well. She couldn't join us today, but she will be back. Don't worry, guys. But she is tuned in live, watching and showing support. If you haven't already, hit that like button, guys. And if you haven't, also subscribe to the channel, tell a friend to tell a friend, and leave us a comment. We love responding back and still continuing on the conversation about this Knicks team. Give Mikal Bridges some grace. He's still adjusting to the other side of the bridge. Let's not be too harsh on this team. Let's give them time to figure it out. Sure, it's been 20 games, but sometimes it takes teams longer than 20 games to figure it out. And we're looking for a win tonight. We're looking for the Knicks to capitalize at home these next few games. And yeah, we're looking to watch for improvements to see where the improvements lie. And we're looking to hope that Tibbs figures out how to let go some of his stubbornness and to let go and change, right? So we'll see. But everybody have a great week. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the Queen's Court. I'll be on with Queen, Jeff, and Tony Crow from Knicks and Bruises as well, recapping tonight's game and a pregame to Tuesday's game against Orlando. So shout out to everybody, and I'll see you all tomorrow on the Queen's Court, and then I'll be back here on Thursday to have a live. So lots to talk about.